Hey first graders, I hope you are all having a great Friday. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about spelling when you're working on writing. All of the videos that I've been recording for you have been about writing fiction stories and coming up with your character and your setting. And this video is going to be a little bit different. This is just going to be a really short video that I want to just remind you some of the things that we know about how to spell words when you're writing. So sometimes you might have a big word that you're trying to write in your story, and it might be a tricky word. So I want to talk to you about what you can do when you come to some of those tricky words and how you can figure out what some of the sounds or the letters might be when you are trying to spell words for your stories, okay? So one of the things that you can do, I've got a poster here that how to write big words. The first thing you could do is you can say it. And don't just say it, but say it slowly. So if I'm writing the word honey in my story and I come to that word and I want to say that the bee's feet are stuck in honey, it's probably going to be the best way for me to say it slowly. So I would want to say it something like this, honey, and see if I can hear some of those sounds in there. The other thing that I can tell about that is it's going to have two parts to that word. So that's the second thing on this poster is you can clap it. So say it slowly, and then you could clap it and listen for some of the parts. Honey, honey. Once you hear two of the parts, then you can write those parts the way that you hear them. So if I'm trying out that word honey, I could write down the parts that I hear. So I could write hun-e, hun-e. And there are my two parts. Here's the first part I heard, hun, and the second part I heard e. So to figure that out, I clapped it, honey, and then I was able to hear both of the parts. Sometimes you're going to have a word that might have different parts to it, but it's not necessarily two different syllables. Like if I was writing that his feet were stuck in the honey and I don't know how to write the word stuck, I can't really clap it to help me because stuck. It's one syllable. There's only one vowel in that word. And when we find syllables, we know that it's because it's separating the vowels of the word. And there's only one vowel in the word stuck, and that's the U. So clapping for finding syllables for the word stuck isn't going to really help me. However, there are other parts of that word that I can find. So if I say it slowly, stuck, I heard a blend. That was the first thing I heard was st. So listen for parts like that too. St-uck, st-uck, uck. Now I need to write the second part. So I heard st-uck, uck. And there's the second part that I've heard, okay, uck. So you can write words and figure out how to spell them by, if it's a double syllable word, you can clap the parts, honey. Or if it's just a one syllable word, you still might be able to find some parts in there like a blend at the beginning to help you. And if you hear that blend first, you can record that sound. Sometimes when we're recording words and trying to hear the sounds, you might miss some of those blends. So by really slowing it down and stretching it out, remember how sometimes I've encouraged you to say a word and pull it out of your mouth like a long piece of bubble gum. Like if I were doing the word stuck. Stuck. You heard so many of those sounds by pulling it out slowly. So sometimes when you come to a word you don't know, you might have to take some extra time and slow down and stretch it slowly and listen for parts. It might be a part like a blend, or it might be a part like a whole syllable. But there might be some parts in there that can help you. Another word that I was thinking of is maybe if I'm writing that he's in the forest, let's clap that word. So just like on the poster says here, say it, clap it, write it. And I would even add, I'm going to write on this poster, because I think it's really important to add the word slowly on here. So say it slowly. You really want to pull it out and say it slow. That way you're not missing any of those parts. So if I want to say that my bumblebee is going into the forest, I can hear that that's going to have two parts. So I'm going to clap it. It would sound like this. Forest. Let me try that one again. Forest. Forest. Okay, so now that I have the parts, I've clapped them, I can go ahead and write each part at a time. That's a sight word. I know that. That's easy for me. For is the second part I heard. Forest. Forest. Okay, so then I can record it into my story after I've stretched it and clapped it and said it really slowly. Okay, the other tip that you might want for spelling is listening for sight words. Just like this had for in it, that's a sight word that you know really well. If you ever hear a word that sounds like it has is or in, or if it has all, you know those sight words. Make sure that you write those sight words the way that you know. If you hear that it's got in, then make sure you're recording it the way that you see in, okay? So like for example, called. If I wanted to say the word called, I can't really clap that one into syllables. Called, called. It's just kind of one. But I can break it into parts, and I can do that by listening for the first part. Call, all. I hear a sight word in there, so I know I'm going to have the word all because the word is call. And then I want to add my ed ending, okay? Called. So listening for sight words in words can be a way to help you learn some of those new words. Listening for parts, clapping syllables. Let's do just a couple more. Let's say that you are writing a story about somebody who gets bubble gum in their hair or something like that. That was the trouble that your character got in. And you want to write the word bubble. Okay, I know that I can hear different parts in that word. Instead of just starting to write it, I'm going to stop and I'm going to think about it first. Okay, this is part of being a writer. Is sometimes you have to stop and take a little second to plan something out before you just keep on going. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to stop and we're going to break it into parts. You can say it slowly, bubble. And then you can clap it, bubble. And then you can try to record those parts or those sounds that you're hearing. So I'm going to do the first part. Bub, bubble. So bub is the first part I heard. Bubble. Then I heard a bull. I heard a blend in there. So here's my first part that I heard. Bub. And then I heard bull. Bubble. Okay, so you're clapping those parts, recording each part that you hear at a time, okay? So today when you're working on writing, I want you to try that. I want you to remember this poster, say it slowly, clap it if there's syllables, and write it. If there are not syllables, you can stretch it and listen for any of those blends, like the word stretch. When I I hear that blend. It's not necessarily a syllable, but it is a part of the word that you might need to hear. Stretch, etch. Okay, so pulling it out, listening for blends at the beginning. Sometimes blends are easy to miss when you're writing, so pay attention, say it slow, clap it if you can, and then record those parts that you hear, okay? So good luck with your writing today. Remember to really slow down when you come to tricky words and try some of these strategies in your writing.